was separate from that of Bawani, has asked an appeals court to overturn her conviction and a resulting sentence of more than 11 years in prison. Homer's appeal said she is challenging the prison sentence handed down in November, as well as any and all adverse rulings incorporated in, antecedent to, or auxiliary to the judgment. She was convicted on 4 felony fraud counts in January for persuading investors that she had developed a revolutionary medical device before the company flamed out after an investigation by the Wall Street Journal. Jurors found Bawani guilty on all 12 fraud counts filed by federal prosecutors, according to the court. Peru now has a female president for the first time after ex-president Pedro Castillo was impeached hours after he tried to dissolve parliament. No president, Ms. Dina Balute, previously the vice president, was sworn in after a dramatic day in Lima. Earlier in the day, Mr. Castillo had said he was replacing Congress with an exceptional emergency government, but lawmakers ignored this and in an emergency meeting impeached him. He was then detained and accused of rebellion. Reports in local media say he was heading to a Mexican embassy in the capital when he was arrested. The 60-year-old lawyer, Ms. Boluart, said she would govern until July 2026, which is when Mr. Castillo's presidency would have ended. Speaking after taking the oath of office, she called for a political truce to overcome the crisis which has gripped the country. After the deadly bombings on 2 Bali nightclubs in 2002, some survivors say they got a life sentence. Information has it that the man who crafted the bombs that killed Mr. Shabi's friends and left him a double amputee was freed from an Indonesian prison. Indonesia says Umar Patek has been de-radicalized, but his parole was sparked anger, particularly in Australia, where 88 victims were found. According to the report, about 221 nations were killed in the blasts on 12 October that year. It remains Indonesia's deadliest terror attack. Patek was accused of being a bomb maker for Jemaah Islamiyah, a group inspired by Al-Qaeda, and spent almost a decade on the run. The report says he was jailed for 20 years in 2012, serving just over half of his initial sentence. And here again are the highlights of the world at noon. In Nigeria, Independent National Electoral Commission has called on journalists to ensure that they quote appropriate sources on matters that have to do with elections. Uganda's Health Minister, Dr. Jane Ruth Usero, today receives a shipment of Ebola vaccine candidate set to be used in a clinical trial. Peru now has a female president for the first time after ex-president Pedro Castillo was impeached hours after he tried to dissolve parliament. And that was the World at Noon, edited by Olushola Egbodofo. News Talk today applauds the approval of paternity leave for male civil servants by the federal government. It is written by Adeyemi Abodere of OSBC Sport Department.
The head of the Civil Service of the Federation, Folashade Yemi Esan, had disclosed through a circular that federal government has approved paternity leave for 7 male officers whose spouse delivers baby. According to the circular, the leave period shall be 14 days and shall not be more than once in 2 years and for a maximum of 4 children. In September last year, the Federal Executive Council FEC gave effect to the circular for men in the Federal Civil Service to enable them properly bond with their newborn baby. The implementation, according to the circular, has taken effect from November 25 this year. This is not something that is new because Lagos State government had way back in 2014 granted 10-day paternity leave to his male civil servant and extended maternity leave from 3 to 6 months. The action of the federal government has been receiving commendations from many people who describe the new trend as a recipe for a strong family, as it portrays the administration as being committed to the well-being of the family. Parental leave or family leave, called partner leave in Germany, is an employee benefit